सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति।
Chapter 2, verses 56 to 55. Dukkeshvanoksnamanaha Dukkeshu vikataspritah Vitaragavayakrodha Chitati muniruchyate Yassarvatranavisneha Tattatra shubhashubham Navinandati nadveshti Tasya prajna pratishtita Yada samharate chayam Purnongani vasarvashaha Indriyani priyatedyaha Tasya prajna pratishtita Vishaya vinipattante Niraparasya devinaha Rasavajjam rasopyasya Param drishtva nivartate Yatato yakitam teya Purushasya vipaschitaha Indriyani samadhini Paranti prasavam manaha Sani sarvani samyamya Yukta asita matparaha Vashe yasvendriyani Tasya prajna pratishtita Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha Samdasteshu vajayate Sangat sanjayate kamaha Kamatrodho vijayate Krodhat bhavati sammohaha Sammohat smriti vikramaha Smriti pramshat buddhinashaha Buddhinashat pranashyati Ragat desha viyuktaitu Vishayanindriyaischaran Atmavasyai videyatma Prasadamadigaccati Prasade sarvadukkanam Ahirasyopajayate Prasanna cetaso yashu Buddhi paryavatishtate.
Answering the questions on who is the perfect human being, he said, a perfect human being is one who relates to the world like a tortoise. Exposed to the knowledge above, keeping the knowledge as the yardstick, keeping the knowledge as the thumb rule. Every transaction of life he goes through. That's what the example of the tortoise speaks about. What is the thumb rule? What is the yardstick with which a human being lives life? Most of the time, if not always, the yardstick is either the conditioning or the likes and dislikes. So he says, what are you going to keep as the yardstick. The wise one functions like the tortoise, keeping knowledge as the yardstick. Previously in the same chapter he said, Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te. Keep the Shastras as your authority. Keep the Shastras as your authority in the matters of how to live life. In the matters of how to decide things, keep Shastras as the authority. That's what is meant by exposed to the knowledge. Constant touch with the knowledge means he is not constantly reading or constantly listening to discourses. Constant touch with knowledge means he keeps knowledge as the yardstick. The benchmark becomes the knowledge. If knowledge is not the benchmark, if Shastras is not the benchmark, your conditioning, your likes and dislikes becomes the benchmark. So what is keeping knowledge as the standard? What is keeping knowledge as the benchmark? We have seen this any number of times. In Kathopanishad, Yama tells Nachiketas, keep death as the yardstick, he says. Something you need to keep as the yardstick. Keep death as the yardstick. That which accompanies you on death is yours. That which cannot accompany you on death is not yours. If it is not yours then, it is not yours now. This is what he says, keep knowledge as the yardstick. I am just saying, giving an example of what is meant by keeping knowledge as the yardstick. If you don't keep knowledge as the yardstick, what is kept? Likes and dislikes, conditioning. Most of the time it is the likes and dislikes coupled with conditioning. Here is this man who functions like the tortoise. When you are exposed to knowledge first and then exposed to the world, there is a way of living. You get exposed to the world and the indulgences first and then come to knowledge. It has a different effect. A person who is exposed to knowledge first and then the indulgences of life. Another thing is getting exposed to indulgences first and then coming to knowledge. The person who is exposed to indulgences first, invariably the likes and dislikes, the indulgences will become the yardstick. Indulgences will become the yardstick. That's why even that person, when he goes to a spiritual place also, it is the indulgence that comes first. Indulgence means constantly looking for fulfillment of likes and avoiding dislikes. That is what indulgence is all about. Indulgence is nothing but constant seeking of environment that caters to the likes and avoiding that which is dislikes. So the person who is exposed to indulgence first, even when he goes to the spiritual environment, the focus will be on, the primary focus will be on indulgence first. Indulgence first, and then somehow has to gather the strength and conviction and try to keep aside the indulgence. That much of struggle, that much of difficulty. In contrast to that, he says, the wise one is exposed to knowledge first. Before indulgences take over, exposure to knowledge. In the Vedanta treatise he says, cart before the horse. You get into indulgence first and then come to the indulgences create a misery, and you come to knowledge seeking. You come to knowledge seeking relief from the misery. You come to knowledge seeking solace from the misery, seeking relief from the misery. You follow? That's why even when they go to God, they go to God seeking a solace from the misery, a kind of solution to the misery. Okay, a solution is given. You are out of this misery. But the human being will not learn anything out of it. Goes back and indulge again, create another problem. Again that man out of his compassion will sit and sort it out. Again go back and do the same thing. For exposure to the knowledge is not there. It's not constantly exposed to the knowledge. Like the tortoise, he says. Like the tortoise is constantly exposed to the knowledge. For a human being cannot do without knowledge. There is a necessity to gain knowledge. There is a necessity to know. That knowing can be of two types. There is a necessity for a human being to know, and this knowledge is of two types. One is how to fulfill the desire. Second is what is attained by fulfilling a desire. There are two kinds of knowledge. One kind of knowledge is seeking fulfillment of a desire. That's where all the worldly knowledges fits under this category of finding, trying to attain the object of desire. So one kind of knowledge is use a method, use a technique to fulfill your desire. There is another kind of knowledge which talks about the uselessness of desiring. There is another kind of knowledge which talks about the futility of desiring. Exposed to the knowledge means exposed to the second type of knowledge, not the first one. The whole world is highly qualified in the first type. What is the first type? How to fulfill the desire. When he says knowledge, he talks about the second type of knowledge. What is the second type of knowledge? The second type of knowledge where the uselessness of desires is understood. The futility of desiring is understood. But I don't ask anything for myself, sir. I only ask for others only. And who are the others? Those you call as yours. Are you able to follow? I never ask anything for myself, sir. I only ask for others. And who is that other? If you carefully analyze, who is that other? Whom you call as yourself. So either you ask for yourself or you ask for others doesn't matter, but the seeking is always to fulfill a desire. One kind of knowledge. Another kind of knowledge talks about the futility of desiring, the uselessness of desiring. The moment the person understands the uselessness of desiring, there is a possibility to transcend it. There is a possibility to overcome that. But what happens is, even when they come in contact with spirituality or religion or God or this higher knowledge is also used to fulfill a desire only. That's why though exposed to knowledge, no one is exposed to knowledge. For even when you come in contact with the knowledge, or God, or religiosity, or spirituality, the focus is still upon fulfilling desire. Oh, Vedanta படிச்சா ரொம்ப ஈஸியா வந்துருமா? I don't know, whatever you will get. Or ask people who have got into nothing has come. What does it mean? Ramana Maharishi said it very beautifully. You will come to an enlightened master and you will not know what to ask him, he said. You will come to a wise man and you will not know what to ask him. You will go and ask him all the things that's not meant to be asked. Mind is that, desire is that which has a natural attraction to the useless. Mind has a natural attraction to the useless. Knowledge is required to say you are getting attracted to the useless. Knowledge is not going to say what is useful. First thing that is very important to understand is you are getting attracted to the useless. That's where the knowledge talks about the futility of all the worldly attainments first. Saying that whatsoever you are running behind is for the nature of the mind is to get attracted to the useless. But to run behind the useful demands a lot of effort. More than the effort, it demands a lot of courage. It demands a lot of conviction. It demands a lot of courage. For your own mind is telling you what you are doing is it's not about the temptations from the world. It's not about what others tell you. It's about your own mind, one's own mind teasing. You follow? That much of support knowledge gives you to say your mind is playing games, your mind is playing tricks. Don't get carried away. You follow? That's where the knowledge is very essential. What he means by the knowledge is that penetrating capacity. Knowledge means, intellect means penetrating capacity. That which the mind sees, it gets carried away by that. That which the mind sees, it gets carried away by that. What is getting carried away by that? Whatsoever you see in the front, the mind believes that's what it is, and that's how it's going to be forever. It sees a disease and it believes that this is how it's going to be forever. It sees health and it believes that's how it's going to be forever. So, a healthy person cannot accept disease, a diseased mind cannot accept health is a possibility. You follow? This is ignorance. The person loving you today need not love you tomorrow. That's all. He has the freedom to love you today. He has the freedom not to love you tomorrow also. There is no difficulty. As far the mind believes differently. Mind has its own way of function. That's why you need that penetrating capacity. You follow? What is that penetrating capacity? That which you see in front, that which you are experiencing now is not what it is. Is not what it is. That's why it's called death. It's called death. Death means not the death of the person. Whatsoever you see now is not what it is going to be the next moment. Million times we have heard this. A person walking into the room is not the person that is walking out. Then you feel, no, we feel no, that's okay, but we feel we are exactly the same. Andalo kunna change alla. Okay, maybe here and there some white hairs increase or whatever. Otherwise, I am the same. Don't see the change. For knowledge is required, that penetrating capacity is required to understand it. That's why knowledge is that penetrating capacity. When you do not have knowledge, when the human being doesn't have knowledge, the mind sees what is in the front and it is carried away by that and is affected by that. What is affected by that means? It sees joy and it believes this is how it's going to be forever. Yeah. What they call as fairy tale ending. In a movie it comes like that. Happily married ever after. Actually the movie starts only after that. But movie is, adukapra you know by yourself nu solranga avladha. You don't need any movie after that. You know by, you follow? The mind sees it and it is carried away by that. It sees success and believes that this is how it's going to be. It sees failure and believes this is how it's going to be. Knowledge says, the penetrating capacity says, penetrate and see what is beyond. You will see something. Don't stop there. Keep penetrating till you hit the point where the changeless remains. Keep penetrating till that point. Joy, no sorrow, no joy, that's only the first level of penetration. Don't stop there. That itself is a very big relief, but don't stop there. Continue the penetration till you reach the point. The moving wheel supported by the unmoving axle, he says. The moving wheel that is supported by the unmoving axle. Shvetaketu goes to the father. Father is the guru there. He goes to the father and asks about God. Father picked up the mustard seed. You know mustard seed, no? How? Magnifying glass you can't see it. It's so small. He said, cut it into two. What? The mustard seed. Cut it into two. What do you get? Something smaller. Cut that into two. He kept on saying. He kept cut that. Penetrate. A point comes where you hit the ultimate. Where you hit the changeless factor. Where you hit the changeless entity. That changeless factor, that changeless entity is what is known as exposed to knowledge. It starts from here, but then the real aim, the real purpose, the true purpose of this knowledge is to get to that point. Shvetaketu said, cut it into two. I can't see anything. Mustard seed cut panna, what do you get? What you can see? Father says, see, penetrate, go deep. That's why 27 times he repeats, Tattvamasi Shvetaketu, Tattvamasi Shvetaketu, Tattvamasi Shvetaketu. He goes on repeating. From that only you get that Mahavakya, Tattvam Asi. It's a product of that penetrating capacity. And what he took to teach him the mustard seed, meaning can't penetrate through the ordinary eyes. You need to penetrate through the knowledge. You need to penetrate through buddhi, the intellect. An enlightened person, a wise one, is exposed to that knowledge. Knowledge means his penetrating capacity has reached its peak, so that he is all the time in contact with the knowledge. Nothing can take that knowledge away. If something can take your knowledge away, it means in the first place you didn't have knowledge. All this I know, sir, but that agitation I forgot. Everything you didn't have it in the first place. The wise man will say, all along you have been assuming that you are having it, but the truth is you didn't have it. Or if you have had it, it can never leave you. Or if it can leave you means you have not yet penetrated enough. That's why he goes on saying, go back and do reflection, manana, go back and penetrate. And beyond a point, we will not know what it is to. Beyond a point, we do not know what it is to do this reflection. What it is to do this manana. And this man, he says, the tortoise. Like the tortoise, he is like the tortoise, when sensing a danger, withdraws itself. Sensing a danger means, as long as you are in the world, the philosophy starts now. As long as you are in the world, as long as you are exposed to the world, the possibility of, the potential for falling is there. Be careful to that potential and alert. And be alert. Be aware of that. For you can't assume that you are safe. You can't assume that you are tolerant. For that potential to fall. That's why you find the Puranic stories talking about wise men falling. Like a Vishwamitra falling for a Menaka. Look at the other example. Ravana. What he didn't have. Kubera used to take loans from Ravana. You know that, no? And Tirupati Balaji took loans from Kubera, and Kubera borrows from Ravana. Now how? What is the level of? What is this level of wealth? What is the quantum of wealth? Okay, wealth is there, but he might be looking pot-bellied and ugly, no? No. Even that physical stature, that physical personality. Rama looks at Ravana and appreciates him, saying, what he tells Vibhishana, you are lucky to have lived with a brother like this, and I never had that opportunity to have a brother like him. Vibhishana says, this is the problem of Ravana. Wherever he goes, he will attract people like this. No, you don't get attracted. You are supposed to kill him and don't stand and admire him. Vibhishana says, he has stolen your wife. Rama is saying, what a majestic personality, what a wonderful personality. Vibhishana is saying, he has stolen your you understand? Physical personality. Okay, very beautiful, lot of wealth, but higher things alone? No. One of the great musician means artist. Artist means a high quality of existence. You follow? That's why his flag is Veena. A Rakshasa must have skull and bones as his flag, but Ravana has Veena. Name it, he had everything. He had a son who is ready to give up his life for father's indulgence. Father wanted to indulge, and he has a son who is ready to die for his indulgence. You follow? What Ravana didn't have. Even Rama didn't have that much compared to what Ravana had. If Rama had wonderful brothers, Ravana also had wonderful brothers. If Ravana had Sita, the Pativrata, as his wife, Ravana also had Mandodari as the Pativrata as his wife. Tabular column you put, at least I put that. Rama one side, Ravana the other side. Rama had 10 points, now Ravana has 100. And yet, what he lacked, the potential, he could not transcend that one weakness, one desire, one weakness. So Ravana is exaggerated to that point of what? You can have the best of everything, but the mind will still chase something. If Ravana is going to be satisfied with Sita, the problem would not have happened. It's not with Sita. Okay, Sita is there, he will go to, the mind will go to something else. That's the mind. It has got nothing to do with Ravana now. It is to do with every human being. Penetrating capacity is required to understand this. Follow? Lastly, why this penetrating capacity is required so much? Because, carefully follow now, to see the greed in the other is very easy, but to see one's own greed is impossible. Again I repeat, to see the greed in the other is very easy. So easy it is, very, you follow? But very difficult to see it in one's own self. To see how others are victim of their desires is very easy. But for me to see to my own self is difficult. So penetrating capacity is required for what? To see it in one's own self. To see it in others, you don't need penetrating capacity. That is so. That's so easy. Actually, it's not easy. Just there now what to do. You follow? Why do you need this penetrating capacity? This penetrating capacity is not to see it in others, to see it in one's own self. For when it comes to one's own self, it's blinding. When it comes to one's own self, it's blinding. Knowledge, that penetrating capacity says, you are a victim of your desire. You are a victim of your desire. You are a victim. It keeps that checkpoint. It keeps that yardstick. You follow? The description of an enlightened person is awareness of the danger. What is the danger? As long as you are in the world, where else you can go? You will be in the world only, no? Where else you can go? So all along, you will be in the world only. till you attain enlightenment. That possibility, the potential for falling is there. The potential for brings an alertness, brings an awareness. You follow? Kurmonganiva sarvashaha, it says, like a kurma he is. Like the kurma, like the tortoise. The senses, the mind, it's all under the shell. It's all under the shell, protected by knowledge. Protected by the knowledge. Knowledge means not bookish knowledge. Knowledge means not the ability to memorize or reproduce, but a direct experience. For knowledge comes through direct understanding. Experience means understand. You have to understand. Otherwise, experience means you will take it as a gross experience. It's not a gross experience, but an understanding. What is that understanding? You cut the seed into two. What remains? Cut that into two. Cut that into two. Cut that into two. Fifth time you will say, okay sir, we have cut enough, let's go to the next verse, 4 in the verse. We have cut. Yajnavalkya tells Maitreyi in the other Upanishad. He goes on asking and he goes on repeating the same thing. The son is not dear for the sake of the son, but for the sake of the self in the son. S-O-N, not S-U-N. Daughter is not dear for the sake of the daughter, but for the sake of the self in the daughter. The wife is not dear for the sake of the wife, but for the sake of the self in the wife. Fifth time you will say, we have understood. Let's go to the next verse. That penetrating capacity is to stay and go deeper and deeper and deeper. If Upanishads talk about breaking the seed, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said it's like peeling onions, he said. You go on peeling till the time where nothing should remain. If something is remaining, no, you have not yet penetrated that much. You have stopped there. You follow? You need to penetrate to a point where nothing remains. Nothing remains means no trace of vasanas, no trace of desires. What remains when everything else leaves? What doesn't leave? Desires doesn't leave. The body can be left, the wealth can be left, everything can be left. What cannot be left? The desires. So when he says, feel it to a point where nothing should remain. What should not remain? Vasanas should not remain. And the enlightened person is one who has no vasanas, who has no desires. So how does he live life? How does he contact the world? How does he move around in the world? Like the tortoise. Meaning, as long as you are in the world, you are exposed to the danger. What is the danger? Possibility of falling. Falling means to your own desires. Falling a prey to your own desires. Very close. Falling to temptations. Moving away from your original self. Technically 100 on 100 marks for everyone. All answers are correct only. But still there is something deeper. What is falling means? What does falling means? Falling from the knowledge. Huh? After the class he will talk so loudly where you can hear him the other continent. Yeah, in the class he is saying ju, no, we can't. Yeah. Ramesh, what did you say? Not using knowledge as a yardstick.
You become a victim of that.
What is the question I asked? What is falling? Correct. What is falling? That much again you have to come back. இது வந்து போன கிளாஸ்ல இந்த அப்படியே ரிப்பீட்டிங் இல்லையா? What is falling? Falling, okay. What is knowledge? What is knowledge? Penetrating capacity. What is knowledge? Knowledge is nitya, anitya, viveka, vicharam. What is falling means? What is knowledge means? The capacity to understand, the capacity to distinguish between real and unreal. What is falling means? The inability to distinguish between real and unreal, as a result of which you fall for the unreal and ignore the real. That is falling. Able to follow? Falling means what? Next week வேற ஏதாவது சொல்லுவேன் இல்லையா? இதே திருப்பி சொன்னா I will have something else to say next week. What is falling means? Knowledge is the viveka vichar, that nitya, anitya, viveka, the capacity to distinguish between the real and the unreal. That awareness of what is real, what is unreal. That is knowledge. What is falling from knowledge means? Losing this discrimination, losing this capacity to discriminate. As a result of which what happens? The unreal is taken to be real. The moment you take the moment the unreal becomes real, real ceases to exist. That's why the first 20 verses he spoke about the indestructibility of the embodied. What is that which doesn't get destroyed? What is it that remains? You break the seed, you destroy the seed to the minutest part. What is it that doesn't get destroyed at the core? That is real. Everything else is unreal. What is penetrating capacity? What is that point? What is that? Real. You get to that real by negating that which is unreal. You can't directly get to that real. By the process of negating that which is unreal, that is penetrating capacity. For the mind says this is real. The senses says, carefully follow now. The mind says this is real. The senses says this is real. How can you convince yourself that it's not real? You have heard from all the masters, all the great men have been saying it's not real. But your senses says it's real. Your mind says it's real. How can you convince yourself that it's not? Maybe blindly I can go on repeating that this is unreal. This is unreal. Yama is Lord of Death. Okay. You reverse Yama, what do you get? Maya. You know, it comes from the same root. Ya, Ma, Saha, Maya. And Yama is called Dharmaraja also. Is it? You know that, no? Yama is called Dharmaraja. For he is the protector of ultimate, or he is the only protector of Dharma. Rest are all. What is so wonderful is that description of that unreal. You follow? Yama means Lord of Death. We have in our stories, we have this character Yama, who is the Lord of Death, and the word Yama means unreal. If you are the victim of the mind, you will have problem with Yama. That's why in Bhaja Govindam he says, Tasya Yamena na charcha. You will have no charcha with Yama. If you remember that sloka in Bhaja Govindam, he says, Tasya Yamena na charcha. Very famous verse in Bhaja Govindam. Bhagavad Gita, Inchidadita, Ganga Jalalava, Kanika, Gita, Sagritapiyena, Murari, Amarcha, Tasya Yamena na charcha. Na charcha means no contention with Yama. No contention with Yama, because you have transcended that real and unreal. The distinction of real and unreal. And he is also called Dharmaraja, protector of Dharma. Why he is the protector of Dharma? He makes sure that everything is, he is the ultimate protector of Dharma, because he makes sure that nothing remains static. That's why he is ultimate protector of Dharma, because he will make sure that nothing remains static. But the mind and the senses project an illusory image of everything being permanent, static. Penetrating capacity is required to break this. Intellect is required to break this. Able to follow? What does this knowledge means? Beautiful verse. Tasya Yamena na charcha, he says. If you don't understand this Tasya Yamena na charcha, immediately the next verse in Bhaja Govindam, he says, Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. Beautiful sequence of thought. Bhagavad Gita, Kinchita Dita, no, little bit of Gita, little bit of this, little bit of this. If nothing you do, you will have constant charcha with Yama. Charcha na you understand, no? Charcha na discussion. Charcha na confrontation, conflict, constant conflict with Yama. What is the constant conflict with Yama means? That which is constantly changing, that which by nature is impermanent, somehow you try to keep it permanent. That is the charcha. By nature it is impermanent. By nature it's temporary. By nature it is constantly changing. Nothing is static. The mind and the senses somehow tries to keep it permanent. What is knowledge? Understanding the impermanent as impermanent. That's all. Having the courage to accept it. You have the courage to accept it. Not like Nachiketas, you can go and wait for Yama. Yama will run away from you for 3 days. In all other cases, Yama is waiting. I am trying to hide from Yama. Nachiketas, he went. Yama was hiding from him for 3 days. Okay, poitarna utrala. But that boy didn't. You follow? What is this knowledge? That penetrating capacity. What is this penetrating capacity means? Understanding the impermanent as impermanent. Understanding that it has a temporary existence. Understanding it has a temporary existence. How temporary? What is the period of temporary? We don't know. That's why another name for Yama is Kala. Full research on Yama only. That's why another name for Yama is Kala. You know that, no? Tamil we call Yama as Kala means time. How it is temporary, but how temporary? It can be one moment, it can be 70 years, it can be 700 years, but still it's bound by that. It's still bound by the limitations of the time. Tasya yamena na charcha, he said. You follow? What is knowledge? Nanga? Ipo solunga. What is knowledge? Understanding whatsoever you can see, whatsoever you feel, whatsoever you understand is all temporary. Then what is beyond all this comes the knowledge. You follow? Whatsoever you know, whatsoever you can see, whatsoever you feel, all that is temporary. Negating all that which is temporary, the question comes, is there anything beyond? The wise one gone through this process of gaining knowledge and reached this point, as a result of which he functions like the kurma. What knowledge, what he did to gain this knowledge? Let me explain. For all practical purposes, for him there is no danger at all. For he has transcended. Understand it like this. For the person who has entered the dream with the full knowledge that he is the waker, dream can never produce any danger. All that he is saying is, enlightened person is not having any danger. He is not going to experience anything. He is saying, you be careful. Arjuna, you are asking about how I am living. You be careful about the way that you are living. For I have known it already. I don't have that problem. Problem is for you. How should you have? Even when he asks this question, he gives a method to save Arjuna. What is that method? Like the kurma. 4 questions and 4 answers. From now on, the discussion takes a different angle of how to get to that point. Yes.
We haven't come to the actual knowledge part at all. But when I go through the process where I keep negating what is clear understanding, improvement. Yeah, it's a sadhana.
The child which gets in the primary school, there is a competition. The primary school, there is the competition, and the child wins that prize, and what pride the child walks back. At that level it is an attainment, it is an achievement. One thing is to be satisfied with a level of attainment and achievement. Another thing is what these wise men do. Whatsoever you attain, whatsoever level of achievement you feel that you have achieved, they keep. What do they do? That's why beyond a point they are very irritating. Beyond the point they are very frustrating. You feel like correct, Ganesh. You feel like running away only. Why? Whatsoever you have attained, whatsoever you have achieved, the ego finds a fulfillment in that attainment. What the wise one does? Whatsoever you have attained is nothing compared to what you have to attain. Compared to what you have to get, what you have attained is nothing. That's appuram paakalam, but at least you can appreciate now, no? At least now you can give one tap at the back and say, good, no. That is the process of tapas. That's called tapas. Looking forward, not to be satisfied, not to be contented. That's why whatever the attainment is, knowledge comes and exposes the uselessness of that attainment. Whatsoever you feel fulfilled, knowledge comes and exposes the futility of that fulfillment. Okay? Yes, sir. You had something. Yes. No. Yes. Absolute. Correct. That's a beautiful example he gives. Roasted seed will not germinate. Correct. That is applicable to a man of ignorance. See, an ignorant man has the potential in him still. He is not the roasted seed. It's still waiting for the right. Once a conducive environment comes in, the desires will start manifesting. You follow? In the case of a wise man, enlightened man that he is talking about, a Sthita Prajna, what has he conquered? What has he eliminated? What has he conquered? Desires. What has he conquered? Vasana, ignorance. Correct. Enlightenment is conquering ignorance. You follow? An ignorant man doesn't even know that he is ignorant, and it has to be conquered. You follow? Here is this man who has conquered the ignorance. What is the ignorance? What is ignorance? Just now I defined. The real, the unreal is seen as real. The unreal is seen as real. Reality has no existence. If we survive till verse number 69 in the same chapter, he says day and night, two opposite experiences. What the ignorant man experiences and what the wise man experiences is black and white. There are no in between shades at all. You follow? What Ramakrishna talks about is an enlightened man, where the possibility of him falling back doesn't exist. If the possibility of falling back can exist, it means there is no such thing called liberation at all. Are you able to follow? How much ever you attain, if you can still fall back, then what is liberation? What is moksha then? Moksha becomes a hallucination, bondage is real. Are you able to follow? If you take that stance and continue right till the end, what they call as moksha, what they call as liberation becomes an imaginary thing, and what is real? Bondage is real. No, bondage is unreal and liberation is real. Okay? Yajnavalkya, the question that she is asking is, Varsakulam Pohadingo, no time I already. Varsakulam Pohadingo. Explain that quote. She didn't say that, poor thing. Yajnavalkya tells Maitreyi, which Ramatirtha quotes in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Maitreyi tells Yajnavalkya, you don't know Yajnavalkya how much I love you. We all say that, not to someone else. Everyone keeps telling this to the other. You don't know what? How much I love you. How much ever I explain, you still don't? You understand? This is the background. Because Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi is husband and wife. So Maitreyi is telling Yajnavalkya, you don't understand Yajnavalkya, how much I love you. For which Yajnavalkya gives this answer. The wife is not dear for the sake of the wife, but for the sake of the self in the wife. The husband is not dear for the sake of the husband, but for the sake of the self in the husband. He goes on and on and on. I don't know, 33 times he keeps repeating. The king is not dear for the sake of the king. The horse is not dear for the sake of the horse. Meaning, everything the mind is attracted to, he takes it and brings in the same principle. It doesn't matter what the difference is. The concept is the same. What? When you are attracted to something, what is the real attraction? The divinity in the other is the real attraction. By mistake, out of ignorance, you take that attraction and put it on the equipments and get attracted to the equipments. This is the classic stance of the Upanishads. This is the classic stance of the enlightened masters. You follow? Anything that you are attracted to, that attraction is because of the divinity in that. For attraction can happen only to the divine, unreal cannot. Because of ignorance, what happens? You misplace the attraction on the material equipments. You misplace the attraction to the objects and beings. Whereas the real attraction is to the divinity in the other. Divinity in the other, divinity in you, for that which can attract you, for that which is worthwhile attracting you is only divine. Not the wife, not the husband, not the daughter, not the wealth. He goes on saying, not the king, not the horse, not the son, not the daughter. He goes on, all that you get attracted to. What is it that is really attracting in that? It's the self. It's the divinity. It's the God. If you see God, you don't see the if you see God, you don't see equipments. If you see God, you will not see the wife. If you see the wife, you will not see God. You can't see half of both. You follow? Seeing divinity everywhere. Now, what is seeing divinity everywhere? First you can't see the wife and then put divinity there. What you see is only the divinity. That's what he said. What is attracting Maitreyi? You have misunderstood. It's not the body, the equipments of Yajnavalkya that is attracting. The true attraction is the divine. Wife is not dear for the sake of the wife, but for the sake of the self in that wife. So you see the wife, penetrate and see the divinity. You see the husband, penetrate and see the divinity. You see the horse, penetrate and see the divinity. Are you able to follow? Same idea, but very differently, different poetic expressions. Is it okay? Yes, ma. I didn't hear. Yes.
Other three persons does not apply his knowledge to penetrate. Both are same.
There is an ignorant person, okay,
The other category person who does not apply his knowledge to penetrate.
who does not apply his knowledge to penetrate. Are they the same? Adan question, Ignorance there are no categories. There is only one. What? There is only one. What? What is the definition of ignorance? The definition of ignorance is not no knowledge. The definition of ignorance is believing that you know when you actually don't know. That is ignorance. See, ignorance is not no knowledge. The English language, ignorance and knowledge gives that impression that ignorance means no knowledge, and then you do something and then what is ignorance in the true sense of the term? What is the definition of ignorance? Ignorant is one who believes that he knows when he actually doesn't know. That's why the whole world, he goes on saying, fools, mudaha, fools. Who's a fool? An ignorant man. An ignorant man is not a man of no knowledge. An ignorant man, an ignorant person is one who thinks he knows when he actually doesn't know. No knowledge, that's why he is ignorant. But then, he will not say I am ignorant. He will say, I know. That is ignorance. That's why it's a paradox. The wise one says, I don't know. The ignorant one says, I know. The paradox of life. Whereas, logically speaking, according to the worldly logic, the ignorant man should say, I don't know, and the wise man should say, I know. But you don't see it. The wise man says, I don't know, and the ignorant man says, I know. Ignorance is assertive, wisdom is suggestive. That's a classic sutra. Ignorance is assertive. Every time Swamiji gives this example, no? How assertively he says, Naan dhaan solrenappa. Ignorance is assertive. Wisdom is suggestive. You follow the difference? So, ignorant category will not even penetrate, for he thinks that he knows already. It is the other that should know, not me. A person who out of 100 who walks into this kind of classrooms, you know what happens, no? 99 will think அவங்க சொல்றதெல்லாம் கரெக்ட் சார், பட் ஆனா அது எனக்கு அப்ளிகபிள் இல்லை. What you are saying is correct, but you are talking to the wrong person. It should go to the other person. For I know it. You follow? That is ignorance. சொல்றதெல்லாம் கரெக்ட் சார், பட் இதை மட்டும் கொஞ்சம் வைஃபுக்கும் சொல்லிட்டேன்னா it will be easy. The teacher, you go to the university, the professor says all that you are saying is correct, but who needs it? Students needs it. You go to the students says நீங்க சொல்றதெல்லாம் கரெக்ட் சார், பட் ஆனா தப்பான ஆள்கிட்ட சொல்லிங்க இருக்கீங்க. You should go to the teacher. So down the line, you really don't know who you are saying this to. For everyone says I know it, and who needs it? The other. That's the sign of ignorance, foolishness, madness. You remember that story he used to give? Fantastic story. A person started believing that he has turned into an earthworm. Remember that example? I can't forget that example. So many examples he gives, but very few is so personally. So inspiring is that example. A man started believing that he is an earthworm. Now people start imagining so many things. No, I am beautiful, I am very loving, I am very caring, I am affectionate. Like that he started assuming that he is an earthworm. It's a disease of the mind. So they took him to a psychiatrist. 6 months of training, morning, noon and night. He had a picture of an earthworm. He said, you see, this is the earthworm. You see how it has, how the shape is, the live earthworm, the picture earthworm, and then the mirror is shown, and then the human figure is shown. You see here, eyes. Does earthworm has eyes? No. You have eyes, no? Yes. Therefore you are not earthworm. You see ears? Ears. Does earthworm has ears? So you are not an earthworm. Correct. Logically it is so. 6 months. The boy is convinced that he is not an earthworm. All the knowledge of a human being and earthworm he has gained. The family came. Now the Nariya edit panniten because time up already. He will say it for half an hour, he will narrate the story. So interesting is this story. 6 months later, the parents come, thanks the doctor, takes him back. The doctor also asked, are you sure that you are convinced? No, yeah, I am very convinced. I know that I am not an earthworm anymore. Thanks to your knowledge, thanks to your wisdom, you have training that I know that I am not an earthworm. They left. As they were leaving the main gate of the hospital, the boy said, I just have only one doubt. Adu mattum clarify pannita. Oh, people thought what a fantastic recovery. For at least even previously he didn't have any doubt at all. Now he is doubting. The doctor has really cured him. Went back. And they are also wanting to hear what is the doubt is. He went to the doctor and asked the doctor, Doctor, you taught me that I am not an earthworm. You have told this to the chicken, no, that I am not an earthworm? Are you able to understand this? He said, you have taught me, but I didn't see you teaching the chicken. I am convinced that I am not an earthworm. Is the chicken also convinced that I am not an earthworm? The doctor said, go inside. For you are exactly the same. Are you able to understand? Every time he gives this story, hilarious it is. Everything he knows the eyes, he knows the ears, he knows the nose, he knows everything, and yet doesn't. And yet the truth is, he still doesn't know. That's all. He still doesn't know. That's why he is asking, does the chicken know? What does it mean? If I go out, the chicken will stuck. How will I escape from the chicken? The doctor said, go inside. Another 6 months of training. This is also knowing. You understand? A blind man read all the books about light, physics. A blind man read all the books on light, on physics. He can give a fantastic discourse about the Vidvari colors, make you understand everything about the light, and yet the truth is, he doesn't know what light is. That's all. There are two kinds of knowing. One is, you can know so much and yet not know anything at all. That is ignorance. What is wisdom? Knowing. There is a difference. You follow? Ignorance ella vanda. Remember earthworm story. At least I remember that story only. Earthworm. Remember, the blind man can teach about light, and the way that he explains light, you will think he knows everything about light, and the truth is, he has no clue to what light is. Is it okay? We will continue next.